My name is John Grauer, and I'm the 593rd Expeditionary Sustainment Command Chaplain. We created a few videos for suicide prevention, and today I've invited Dr. Alaine Buchanon to share part of her story with us.
Hello everyone, my name is Alaine Buchanon, and it is so very good to be with you. For those of you who are watching today, thank you for sharing this time and this space with me. So what I'd like to do is tell you a little bit about who I am and what I do, and then I'll jump right into my story. So I am a minister, an adjunct professor, an advocate, a wife. My husband is an active duty Army chaplain, and we also have a son, and I'm also a friend. January is a very, very important month for our family. In January of 2008, Stefan went active duty. Our son was born in January of 2012, and the story that I'd like to share with you today is from January of 2015. So I started my PhD program in the summer of 2008, and Stefan, my husband, had already gone active duty and was in Afghanistan during his first deployment. And over the 6.5 years from that time, the time that I started, until January of 2015, I had faced a number of obstacles in my PhD program. I had faced challenges in every single relationship that I had. So I was facing obstacles from the military side of things, from my school, from family, from friends, even from the denomination that I'm connected to. And every single one of those obstacles had been overcome. Lots of forgiveness had been offered, and several relationships that were there at the beginning of my program, by the time we get to this date in January 2015, many of those relationships had been severed, not by me, but by other people. And it was just really, really, really hard to go through all of that. Yet I had seen the faithfulness of God time and time again. I had watched as God had done things that only God could do. And my relationship with God was very solid. From the time I was a young girl, I was very spiritually sensitive, and I knew that God was with me all the time. Even in those times where God seems to be silent, I still knew that He was very, very close to me. But on this day in January of 2015, I woke up in the morning. It was just like any other day. I was strong. I was feeling good. Anybody who knew me would have described me as being very resilient, very strong, willing to take risks. On that day, like I said, though, I woke up. It was a normal day, got ready. I took my son to his preschool. And when I got home, I was actually waiting to hear from my PhD committee, my dissertation committee. I was at the stage where I was at the very end of my dissertation. All I needed was their approval. I was getting ready to schedule my defense. And after the defense, for the most part, you're done with your PhD. So I had made it all the way to the end of my PhD program. And then I received a series of 3 emails. And the sum of those emails was that I had failed my dissertation, that I was going to have to apply for a 1-year extension that may or may not be approved, and that the chances of me actually passing were minimal. So my options were to either apply for an extension that may or may not happen, or settle for a lesser degree, for a master's degree rather than a PhD. And I remember putting my phone down, putting my head in my hands, and just saying, oh no, now what? And since we're military, you know, when we face obstacles, the immediate thing that we do is we say, oh no, now what? And then we make a plan. That's just what we do. That's the way that we're wired. But for me, this was different. As soon as I said, what now? Now what? I felt cold, I felt dark, and I felt evil. This is different than the silence of God for a season. I literally felt God leave me. And for the next 3 hours, every single negative word that anyone had spoken over my life from the beginning of my PhD program to that time, every single difficult situation that I faced, all of those memories, all of those words, all of those actions came flooding back. And I couldn't make it stop. And it went on for almost 3 hours. In my tradition, we've always said, call on the name of Jesus and he'll be there for you. And I called on the name of Jesus, and he never answered. He never came. So after a couple of hours of this, I figured the only thing that I could do to make it all stop was to kill myself. So I made a plan. I wrote a short note, and I texted my husband, and I asked him if he would be willing to pick up our son from preschool that day. And I was waiting for an answer from him, and then I was going to do it. So time went on. These words, actions kept flooding my mind, and I had no history of mental illness before this either, so this is totally out of character for me. So as this goes on, it keeps going on, and then I looked at my phone, and I saw the date, and I looked, and I saw that my text never went through to my husband, and I realized I can't do this today. Maybe tomorrow or the next day, but I can't do this today. So slowly, those words and those thoughts started to leave. And then when I went to pick my son up from preschool, it was a Christian preschool, and there are many times where I had pulled people who worked there aside to pray with them. And the assistant director saw me, and she knew something was wrong, and she prayed for me. Picked our son up, brought him home, and before Stefan got home, he happened to see a crumpled up piece of paper in the middle of the living room floor. And he picked it up and he handed it to me, and he says, "Mom, what is this? Can you read it to me?" And it was the letter that I had written. So I went and I shredded the letter, and we waited for Stefan to come home. As soon as Stefan came home, he knew that something was really wrong. So we sent our son up to his bedroom, and Stefan, he prayed with me. And the way he prayed, it was like he was praying for my life, because he was. But what happened that day really set me into a long season of questioning God. The beliefs that I had about God always being with us, about never leaving us, and my experience that day totally conflicted with each other. And so I spent the next 2.5 years working through that and processing through that. So I just want to encourage you today. If you are in that spot, if you're in leadership, and leadership is all different kinds of different things. It can be your home, your neighborhood, your family, in the military, whatever it is. If something happens, like what happened to me, it is so important to connect with somebody, because who you are matters. Your story matters, your life matters. So be encouraged today that you're not alone.
Alaine, I want to thank you for sharing this story. It was powerful, and your honesty came absolutely through. If you are struggling with suicide or know someone who's struggling with suicide, there are some help numbers at the end of this video that you can contact. Please know that there are people willing to talk to you and walk you through these difficult times.